Hello, welcome back to Mark's House and Garden UK. And as you can see, I'm not in my garden because I'm in my cousin Gwenny's garden. And today we're going to talk about olive tree care or olive plant care. This is Gwenny's olive plant. Whilst I'm here visiting, she's asked me to have a look at it. So we're going to talk about this olive plant, and in the process of doing that, we'll talk about all the things that olives like.
Okay.
And also, quite importantly, all the things that olives don't like, so that if you've got an olive plant, you'll be able to do it right and it will look after itself. There's nothing much wrong with this, I have to say. It's in relatively good condition, but there are some steps we are going to take in this video just to give it a boost.
Yeah.
Now we're in April, we're at the start of the season, so what we do today will stand this in really good stead for the next 2 or 3 years actually. Now Gwenny, before we start the process on this olive tree, I just want to bring your attention to a couple of things that I think you're getting right. Okay, firstly, the bricks.
Okay.
Now, if you think about where olives come from, what's the soil like?
Dry.
Dry, gritty.
Yeah.
They're like good drainage, and that will really help with the drainage. So if you've got an olive plant and it's sat on a flat surface, it could be that that flat surface is stopping the water from getting away. So that's brilliant. The other thing is, olives don't like strong wind. They like to be relatively sheltered. So in this little corner where you've got it, it's lovely. I noticed there's a bit of a prevailing wind coming round the house. And if you put it over there in that prevailing wind, it will probably start losing its leaves.
Okay.
We're just coming out of winter and this has got lots of lovely leaves on it. So that's number 2. Now, the third thing that I think you're doing really right with this is the light. Now, you were telling me that in the morning you can come out here and have a nice cup of tea.
Yeah.
As the sun comes up.
Yeah, just going straight up there.
Again, going back to where olives come from, they like the sun. So you've got 3 elements really right there. You've got shelter, good drainage, and good light. And all 3 of those things will be really helping this olive. That's a Mediterranean plant. It wants to feel like it's in the Mediterranean.
Like me.
Great, so far, so good. Now you asked me about pruning. I'm going to move that here and we're going to do a process on it. While we're doing the process, we'll talk about pruning, because pruning and how you prune an olive depends on your objective.
Okay.
What do I mean by that? Well, if you want fruit, you prune it in one way. If you want shape and structure, you prune it in another way. But let me get that onto here.
Okay.
Right. This plant is in really good health. And I think we've already explored the reasons why. But I think you told me that it's about 18 months since you repotted it.
Yeah.
A plant in a pot, the soil is a limited resource, isn't it? There's only a certain amount of nutrients and goodness in that soil. And as the plant grows, it's taking that out of there. Do you ever feed this?
No.
Okay. It's not done it any harm because the leaves still look really healthy. And we've got lots of little new budding leaves coming out, so it's probably still got some reserves of food in there. But if you look at some of the tips of some of these leaves here, you can see they're a little bit off green, aren't they? A little bit anemic.
Yeah.
Which suggests, well, it could be a few things. It might be that it's been, because it's winter, it's not had the light, so it's not photosynthesizing. It might be that it's not getting just quite enough nutrients. But there's nothing unhealthy about that. It's just the plant giving you a signal. So that's what we're going to remedy now.
Yeah.
So again, I think all is well really, but sometimes prevention is better than cure. So we're going to help this plant along now. Let me show you what I've got together. Slow release plant food, Epsom salts, a bag of a horticultural grit and some fresh compost.
Yeah.
This is a simple task of repotting it. It's not rocket science really. Looking after a plant is logic. You've got most of the environment right and most of the elements right, but the only thing I can see on the horizon is this is going to start running out of food.
Okay.
So we're going to give it some food now.
Yeah.
You also asked about pruning, and we'll talk about pruning in a bit more depth once I've repotted it. Repotting it, right. I put it on. I put some mat mount down, by the way, which will help us to tidy up after. Wonderful. You've got Crocs. You've got Crocs in the bottom of here. Why did you put Crocs in?
Because we listened to your last YouTube video.
And why did I tell you to put Crocs in?
Just for more drainage?
Yeah. Crocs are basically rocks or broken plant pots. You've got drainage holes in the bottom of your pot. If you put soil straight in there, it will immediately block those holes. If you put Crocs in, what I call Crocs, it's like a baffle. It stops the soil getting through, but it allows the water through.
Okay, yeah.
So that's a brilliant thing, and I think that's another one of the things you've done really well with this.
Yeah.
The soil in the bottom of here is quite wet, but I would expect that at this time of year because it's been raining a lot.
Yeah.
And whilst it rains a lot,
is that why the ends are going a bit?
It could be. That could be one of the things. But so long as you've got good, well-drained soil but's moist, that's not going to be a major problem. Whilst it's not hot, it's not transpiring. So it's not taking that moisture out, but it's dormant. Let's have a look at the roots. Now these roots are healthy, but you can see it's reached the pot. So it's about to become pot bound. I'm just damaging these roots, which is a good way of stimulating new root growth. These are healthy roots. There's no root rot here. So we're okay.
Good.
I'm taking away some roots and I'm taking away quite a lot of the old soil, which we will replace in a minute.
So how often would you do this?
You could do this once every 3 years and you'd get away with it. And the plant will tell you.
Yes, it's not something you do every year then.
No, you don't need to. It's overkill, that. I mean, obviously a plant is better off in the ground.
Yeah. Because
it can reach out for food and you would never need to repot it. But
so we thought it needed a bigger pot.
No, because it's a bit like bonsai. If you do some damage to the roots and you refresh the soil, it'll just keep growing into that. And then you can do the same process every couple of years. Right, you can see there I've exposed the roots and the root ball.
Yeah.
I'll take a bit more off. We are going to throw this on the compost heap and replace it. Right, through the miracle of editing, we're now at the next stage, which is repotting, and then we'll talk about pruning. Okay, you had already done so much right with this. You said it was because you'd watched one of my videos, but there's nothing new under the sun, and it's all logic. Right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to repot this. I'm going to do it slightly differently to how you did it, but not vastly differently. There's our pot with our drainage holes in the bottom. I'm going to add back the Crocs. That's brilliant. Again, they stop the holes from getting blocked with compost. They let the water through, so it never sits in water, and it's going back on those bricks behind me that you saw earlier. I've removed a lot of the spent compost and exposed the roots. Damaging the roots will stimulate them to produce new roots, and that will feed the plant.
Right.
Now, what a lot of people forget is that plant roots need air just as much as the top of the plant does. Okay, now some plants are adapted like bog plants and water plants, but there is still oxygen in water.
Right.
So we're going to do something with the compost mix to make sure that the soil stays aerated. Now, I normally put these in terracotta pots. This is a terracotta pot, but it's glazed. That's not ideal, but it's not a huge problem. The glazing will stop it from letting moisture out. So you probably water this slightly less.
Right.
It's almost like a plastic pot, that being glazed, because it makes it waterproof. Right, so that's going to go in there, and we're going to plant it at the same depth, but we're going to leave a good inch at the top. Do you know why?
No.
Right, I'll tell you. It's so that we can flood it. So what I do in my olives is I let them almost completely dry out before I water them, and then I flood them. And you can only flood a plant if there's an inch at the top to get the water in.
Right.
If you fill it right to the top, the water just runs off and never gets to the roots. So that's going back in there. Crocs. Now, the soil mix is going to be slightly different. That was in pure compost. I am going to add some horticultural grit. That's horticultural grit, and what it does is it breaks up the soil. It allows the water out, which inevitably lets the air in,
Right.
and the air is the oxygen for the roots. So I'm going to go 1 part grit, 3 parts compost. So that's 2 handfuls of grit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them, and I'm just going to mix it like a cake mix. Get my fingers in, can you see?
Yeah.
And at the same time I'm breaking up the lumps. These bags of compost, they get compacted.
Yeah.
So I'm breaking up the lumps. And you can see already that that is opening up the soil structure. That horticultural grit I got off Amazon. It's £13 for a big bag, and it goes a long way. And I will put the Amazon link to that in the description box below this video, just in case you buy it. Incidentally, if you do buy it, I get a small commission, and it all goes back into my garden. So thank you for your support. So that's our soil. Remind me what I've done.
It's just 3 parts grit to 6 parts compost.
Yeah, well,
right?
it's 25% grit, 75% compost.
Okay,
yeah?
Yeah.
And you could go up to 30%, but you wouldn't need to. The next thing I'm going to do is have some slow release. There's a lot of food in the compost, but it will run out, because those roots are going to start growing, and they're going to start taking that food out of that compost. So this slow release just gives it a bit more extra life. Yeah. And now I've got some Epsom salts. This is great for foliage. Be very, very sparing with Epsom salts. Literally, that whole box does 42 square meters of ground. So really a very small.
And what's this doing?
This is Epsom salts. So that's got magnesium in it.
All right.
And sulfur, and it's great for the foliage. So any plant that's got green foliage, I put that all around my box parterre. It's great. It's great as a tonic in the springtime. Mix it all in thoroughly. Yeah. Now put a base layer in, and then offer the plant up. That's about right.
Yeah.
And now get it round the edge, and as you're doing, make sure it's vertical. I will know, get this in, and it will fall around the side because of the shape of the pot. The shape of the pot is angled outwards, so the soil is falling around, but we will water it in, and that will help it. I might need to mix a bit more up, that's not a problem. I'm just gently firming it, not too much. I don't want it to be compacted. I want air in the soil, I want it to have an open structure. And we will water it, but I'll move it back where it came from before I water it, because it will be heavy. I'm going to talk about pruning now, but I am going to repeat myself. A lot of what you were doing was really good. The only thing I've done differently is I've added some grit to the compost, which just opens up the structure. Right, pruning. It depends on your objective. And I've pruned lots of olives. What do you want? Do you want fruit or do you want shape?
It just needs to look more pretty and more of a shape, I think, so it looks nice in the garden.
Right. So for you, it's more about the look rather than the production of fruit, right?
Yeah.
The reason they ask that question is olives produce fruit on last year's branches. If you were to take all the branches off, it wouldn't produce any fruit. Okay, so you've got to decide which you want. You can have a bit of both. You can leave some of the branches on and prune some of the others, and then you'll get some fruit. And if you did want fruit, if it was pure fruit, leave a lot of the branches on, but prune it into an open globe so that the light can get into the centre, because the fruit need light. Okay, so we're just going for shape. As I put my secateurs.
Just over there.
Thank you. Pruning stimulates growth. There's this thing called apical dominance. Do you remember what that means?
Is it where the light's going in the top and it's getting all the
You're on the right lines.
Nutrients.
You're on the right lines. What it is, it's about, if you think about apex predators, the predators at the top of the tree, top of the food chain. If you think about the apex of a roof, it means the top. And apical dominance, apical comes from apex, means that there's a hormone produced at the top. The very tip of the branch produces a hormone which prevents the leaves growing below it.
Right.
If you remove that, it stops that hormone, it bushes out. That's why plants that get pruned very often bush out.
Okay.
So if we remove all these tips, it will bush out again.
So we're just taking the tips off.
Yeah, and it will take as much off as you want,
Okay.
until you get the shape that you desire. Now, I can tell you it's going to look bare for a period of time, but the minute you prune these tips, you're removing that hormone and it will start to grow from below.
So it didn't have to be a particular place on the stem, just...
No,
No.
really. And I've done several videos on olive trees where I've taken every single leaf off, right down to here, and it's grown back.
Right.
So now it's up to you. You choose the shape. And so I'm going to let you prune this. We'll film it, but we'll do it in fast forward with a bit of music, and then we'll come back after you've pruned it.
Okay.
Personally, I think that looks a lot better already, and it will thank you. And what will happen is, just below where you've cut, it'll start growing new leaves. And if I were to come back in 6 months and do an update video, that will be much bushier. Right, I'm going to move it back into place and we'll give it some water. Incidentally, all the links to my products and some notes on everything we've spoken about, will be in the description box below this video. So if you want to reference them, you can either watch the video again or read the notes. But I've done this, I can count 9 times I've done this with 9 different people's olive trees, and some of my own, and it's never failed to work. Right, let me move this back. Incidentally, if you want proof of the pudding, subscribe, hit the notifications bell, and I will do an update on this. But as I've said, I've done this before, so I've got proof of this working. So I will put a link to a video where I've done this, a before and an after, in the description box below this video.
Looks good.
Good.
Yeah, looks
happy?
Yeah,
great.
you.
We're all done. I'll just tidy up and then we'll have a cup of tea.
Okay.
And we'll see you soon for some more
olive tree adventures.
Brilliant.